Hey Martin, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Matt. Good to see you again.
It's good to see you too, buddy. Well, here we are again, talking about macro.
Talking about macro, that's what we're doing best.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm really excited today because no matter how many times I explore the topic of how to build out a macro kit with you, every single time I learn something new from you.
Thanks a lot. And by the way, thanks for that awesome macro challenge that we all saw like 2 weeks ago. It was really fun seeing you exploring the depths of a fork of such a simple object. It was amazing. I mean, macro isn't that a cool thing?
Oh
Like
my gosh.
exploring new horizons, new things in like common objects, like even a fork or a coin or a stamp even.
Yep. That brings me to what we're going to do next, but we'll talk more about that at the end. I definitely enjoyed learning more about the landscape of a common object when you get into macro distances.
Mhm.
It was really fascinating to apply light, what I know about lighting and composition, to lighting that, and I'm treating it like a landscape because it really ends up being a landscape. It's part like graphic, it's part landscape. It was really fun to play with and
Why
having a.
not calling it the macro landscape?
Oh my gosh, did we
I
just
mean,
coin something?
that's essentially what it is in the end.
So I'm technically a macro landscape photographer now.
Well, you should post it to Facebook.
I'm changing my title.
Started a new job as macro landscape photographer.
Go straight on my LinkedIn.
Isn't that fun? Way wow!
Oh, we have people here. We should say hello.
Hi James. Hi Nick. Brad.
Welcome everybody. We're so glad you're here. So you're already checking in. Please let us know in the chat over there. Where are you tuning in from? We'd love to hear. So today,
Mount Vernon.
Martin is taking the lead. Martin is going to talk about building out a macro kit. And I'm really excited about this because he's going to cover four main things. He's going to cover choosing a focusing rail, which getting the right one is really important. Christian and I had a lot of discussions about that. Retro adapters to reverse your lens, which we have covered before, but it always bears a little bit more explanation.
Yes.
Choosing a bellows system that fits your needs, and we have many options. And then finally, discussing which camera or lens adapters you might need for those bellows systems. And these four topics can be pretty expansive. And Martin has not only put together a good deck to walk us through it, but he's got another surprise for you. And I can't wait for him to reveal that. So.
Okay, so, well, why aren't we jumping right into it?
Let's do it. Here it is.
Okay, let's speak about building the ideal macro photography kit. Let's speak about focusing rails, and well, let's do it. Well, that's us again. We are already introduced ourselves. Matt from NOVOFLEX USA, and Martin, obviously, that's me. So, doing macro photography, that's why we're here today, and that's what we all like. That's what we all love. Here's a wonderful macro shot of an ant, and that shot has been taken using so many little helpers, obviously a focusing rail, and that's the first topic that we want to cover today. So here's a quick overview of what we want to cover today. Matt already mentioned all the single topics. So as I already said, let's jump right into it. Choosing the right focusing rail. And as many of you might know, NOVOFLEX offers a whole bunch of different focusing rails, from a very tiny small one that fits right into your pocket to even longer rails for more delicate macro work. And we even offer a stepping motor driven focusing rail if you're if you want to explore the depths of high magnification macro photography, say 5 times, 10 times, 20, or even 50 times magnification, that's something you would want to choose our stepping motor driven focusing rail, Kestel Micro. Okay, but before we speak about Castel Micro, let's take a closer look at Castel Mini 2. It's the smallest focusing rail in the NOVOFLEX assortment, and it has an adjustment range or a range of travel of the sliding block of 100 millimeters. So that's the rail, as I said earlier, that would fit right into anyone's pocket, so you can take it with you. And Matt, I think you did use this particular rail when you were shooting with one of our auto bellows, isn't it? Isn't that right?
Yes. Currently, I use this exclusively, and I really enjoy it.
So it's very compact, it's very lightweight, and of course, as you can see here on the bottom, it's completely ARCA compatible, as all our focusing rails are. So if you are using, or if you have a ARCA compatible like quick release unit or clamp on top of your ball head, tripod head, whatever, you can just click it right into the quick release clamp. So there's no need for any extra coupling plates or something like that. I have the rail here again. It's as you can see, if you compare it to, I'm holding it into the palm of my hand, and now you get like a size comparison. So it's that tiny. As I mentioned, fully ARCA compatible, and on the top it has the 1/4 inch 20 thread. So your camera threads right onto this sliding block here. And if you want to use an ARCA clamp on top as well, you might want to add a simple Q-mount quick release unit on top. Hey, Matt, what type of clamping do you use on top of the sliding block?
It's funny. When you and I were talking about it when I first got this, I take my auto bellows and I turn this around so it's rail to bottom of the ARCA to bottom.
Rail to rail.
It's rail to rail. So I have the 1/4 20 thread facing downwards. And I just mounted that directly onto the classic ball in my current setup.
So you don't use any extra clampings in between, like a Q-mount or Q-base, or?
I have the mini that I use occasionally when I want them both to be in the same orientation. But for right now, I found that having both of those rails make total contact over the same area was very secure, and I liked that.
Okay. Well, that's a very good point. And you were working with a Nikon Z, a Z6. And so the size of the rail makes this the ideal companion for all kinds of mirrorless cameras. So a Nikon Z6 or a Sony Alpha 7 or 9, or even a Fuji X-T3, as you can see here, these are ideal for these types of rail. So here's another interesting macro photo right in between. And the next rail is very interesting. It's the Castel Q, and that's the rail that we sell the most of. It's longer compared to the Castel Mini, as you can see here, if I hold them right next to each other. So it's a little bit longer, so you get a bigger adjustment range of 125 millimeters. And if you compare the rails, it's not only longer, but the rail itself is ARCA compatible on the bottom, and it's also ARCA compatible on the top. So as many of you out there are having ARCA compatible coupling plates onto their cameras, it will slide right into the quick release unit here, and so there's just no need to use anything else. So just slide it right into here, clamp it by means of this little screw, and that's everything you have to do.
I'm likely to get one of these next.
The bigger one.
The one especially because the ARCA clamping mechanism goes horizontally, and I always have an L bracket on my camera. So as much as I love the Mini, I think I would enjoy having that quick on and off even more. So.
Why don't you just switch cameras and show us your setup?
Oh, sure.
That you currently
turn that on. Yep. Let's do this. Turn the stuff on. Did prepare for this, right? So here we go. All right, so So this is my setup right now. I'm in the middle of shooting the next macro challenge, and you can see, like, yes, I always have an L bracket on, right? But right now I have the auto bellows and I have my 100 millimeter Laowa lens, and below the auto bellows I have the inverted, and it's really hard to see here, but I guess I can show you guys. I'll move it backwards to where it was.
That's what you were talking about, that you have the rail and the bellows mounted rail to rail.
Yeah. So sorry, I have a little bit of a complicated setup here because I show what's happening through the camera at the same time too. But yeah, normally you wouldn't have this. I'll just unplug that. So this is the bottom of the auto bellows here, and this is the bottom of the Mini, the Castel Mini. But
naturally, if you would want to use, or if you were having a quick release clamp on top of your ball head, you would have the rail mounted the other way around, right?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. That's what I would do.
Okay, perfect. Okay, let's switch back to our presentation. Castel Q, here's the bottom again. So fully Arca compatible. It has 3 pairs of threads, 1/4 inch 20 and 3/8 16. So if you are using any other quick release system like a Manfrotto one or anything else, your quick release plate would screw right into one of these threads on the bottom. So all of the NOVOFLEX focusing rails, of course, since they are part of a system, they will accept some accessories. And what accessory is shown on this slide here? It's a slide duplicator. So if you happen to have many slides it's sitting on a shelf somewhere collecting dust, you may consider digitizing them and bring them to the digital age, bring them to your hard drive, maybe print them afterwards, or maybe correct the colors. Every NOVOFLEX focusing rail will accept this slide duplicator, and it goes right into these little holes here.
Let me show you.
Slides right into here.
There you go.
Yes. So that's the reason we have these little holes here. So every NOVOFLEX focusing rail will accept this slide duplicator. So all you have to do is you just add a camera, your standard camera like this Canon EOS 1D or your Nikon Z. You add a macro lens to it that is capable of reaching 1:1, and then you have an easy and inexpensive way to digitize 35mm slides. And this slide duplicator will accept slides all the way up to the 6x7 format. So if you happen to have slides that you've taken with a Pentax 6.7, it will accept these slides as well.
Or my Mamiya 7, yeah.
Or your Mamiya 7. Yeah. Why not? I mean, I think that's an interesting topic that we should discuss in one of our next webinars. Don't you agree?
On it, yeah.
Okay, let's do it. So here's another interesting macro shot of a dollar coin. And since all of the NOVOFLEX focusing rails are fully Arca compatible, there's another interesting option that you have. So if you start, or if you enter the macro world by buying one of these Castel Q focusing rails, and later on you want to add a second like directional axis, or you want to adjust your camera in a second axis, all you have to do is you just purchase a second focusing rail. And since they are Arca compatible on top and the bottom, the second rail just slides right into the quick release unit on top of the first rail. Now just secure the rail on top, and now you have the option of adjusting your camera in 2 different axes. Very precise, very exact. And by the way, one full turn of this operating knob here will move the sliding block for exactly 15 millimeters.
That's cool.
That's an interesting topic. But for all you guys out there who want to employ one of these rails into focus stacking or in focus stacking, there's another cool add-on. And that is this thing here. Did you work with our fine adjustment handle, Matt?
No, it's on my list of next things to try.
Yeah. It is on your list. Okay. So what this thing will do is it will slide right onto the operating knob of your Kessler Q focusing rail or any other NOVOFLEX focusing rail, with the exception of the Kessler Micro, of course. And it will let you fine adjust the sliding block.
You're changing the gearing ratio essentially.
Exactly. That's what we do with this adjustment.
Wow.
Handle here. And I will just quickly switch my camera and show you what this thing is going to do. Let's just switch the camera. I have a camera sitting on a Kessler Q focusing rail and have not yet attached the a fine adjustment handle. So if we focus, that's without the fine adjustment handle. And now I'm going back. And now I'm adding the fine adjustment handle. And now you can see how much more precise.
Yeah, I'm ordering one of those today.
Is getting. So if you're into focus stacking, or if you want to enter the world of focus stacking and you want to use one of our manual focusing rails, I would definitely recommend purchasing a fine adjustment handle, cast fine in addition. That's a very interesting add-on. Don't you agree?
Yes, absolutely. I already put my order in. I just finished. So,
okay.
The question that we had real quick was, just to repeat that, one full turn is 15 millimeters. That's
15
correct?
15 millimeters.
1.5. Got it.
1.5,
okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Martin.
Sure. So here's another picture of the cross-focusing rail in use.
Now, you could use that for
what?
Panoramas. Like you could do stacked images. I know this is just blowing my mind, but
I mean, of course, you could use any of our focusing rails in panorama photography as well. I think we've spoken about this in one of our previous webinars when we were speaking about panorama photography. So if you're adding a panning base underneath and an L bracket on top, this will convert the focusing rail into a panorama system or panorama head for single row panorama photography. Right. And I think we covered this topic in one of our previous webinars, right?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking of like, I could do a focus stack and then move it to the left and do another focus stack and then move it to the left and do another focus stack and then stitch those together like a panorama. I'm thinking like a landscape photographer.
A macro landscape photographer, as is your new profession. Well, you could certainly try, but I think you would need like a more powerful computer than you're having now, because there's so much data that you are going to create.
Oh no, you just you stack 3 or 4 or 5 images and then you stitch those separately. I mean, it's just you're multiplying instead of, you're not doing them all at once. So.
Well, you could, but
I'm throwing it on my personal challenge pile. We'll see.
Do them right after the other. Sure. Okay. Let's go switch right back into our presentation. So that is by far our longest focusing rail in the range of manual focusing rails, and this thing here is called the Kestel XQ2. And why are we calling this the XQ2? It's quite easy, as you can see in the picture. The quick release unit that is sitting on top of the rail is capable of accepting a plate in like two different axes, so you can mount your camera parallel to the rail or in a 90-degree offset. So if you happen to have like a longer rail, not a square rail, attached to, let's say, a macro lens that has a focal length of 150, 180, or even 200 millimeters. Usually these macro lenses come with a built-in tripod collar, and these tripod collars will only accept like longer rails and not square rails. So this rail will accept these longer rails as well, whereas the Kessler Q won't accept these rails anymore. And can you just switch the picture real quick?
Yes, sir.
Matt? Okay.
Takes 3 clicks.
Okay.
Sorry.
Don't worry. And what we have here is we have 2 sliding blocks. So one sitting underneath the rail and one sitting on top of the rail. So we could use the one sitting on top of the rail to, let's say, pre-focus our image. And we would use the one sitting on the bottom to fine-tune the rail. And adjusting the sliding block that's sitting on the bottom, as well as adjusting the sliding block that's sitting on the top, will equal a total range of travel or adjustment range for the entire rail of 375 millimeters, 375. So we can move our camera from here to here, and we can further adjust the rail to here. So that's how this enormous adjustment range works.
That's amazing.
Was that understandable?
Totally.
Okay.
It's
Awesome.
Doubling the length. It's like there are
doubling the lengths with half the length of the rail itself.
Yeah, it reminds me of some sliders out there that have an innovative design that, they're this big, but they can travel twice as far as their length. It's the same Caterpillar idea. I love it. And
that's the principle that is employed in this rail.
Yep.
Okay. Beautiful. So there's something else we can do. Of course, we can this sliding block that's sitting on top of the rail that we usually use to pre-focus the image. We can just take it off. So basically, it's a double-sided clamping unit. So we can just take it off. We can turn the rail around, and we can adjust it to the lower, add it to the lower sliding block. So what this will do, it will basically put a spacer in between the lower sliding block and your camera. So if you would add a camera on top of here, could you go back to the presentation, please? And these images here will show you what this will do. So if you are working with macro rails with a longer focal length, and if they have a tripod collar, and you would want to rotate your camera within the tripod collar from portrait to landscape, usually the rail will prohibit this because the camera will collide with the rail. But putting the spacer in between the lower sliding block and your camera will allow you to rotate your camera without it being collided with the rail itself. So that's the second option this rail offers. So if you happen to have one of these longer macro lenses, you should definitely consider investing into the Kessler XQ2 focusing rail.
You guys are good at solving problems.
That's what we like, yeah. Because we all here discovered these problems ourselves. So we always want to find a workaround, in other words, and we always think if we are discovering these problems, there must be other people out there who have the same problems. So that's one of the thinkings behind so many NOVOFLEX product innovations. Okay, so why don't we go on? Here's another interesting macro image of an ant. And this image leads us right into the last focusing rail. I quickly mentioned it in our intro. That's the most advanced of our focusing rails, and also it's also called Castle, and we've added the word micro to it because this one is stepping motor controlled. It comes with this control box, and the sliding block can be controlled with a precision of up to 0.2 microns. So as you well know, in macro photography, the depth of field is very shallow, and the depth of field becomes even more shallow the higher the magnification factor gets. So this 0.2 micron travel that this Castle Micro will give you will put a magnification factor of up to 50 times lifetime right into your hands or into your reach. So if you happen to have microscope lenses, let's say from Mitutoyo, from Zeiss, from Nikon, there's so many different lenses out there. You would definitely want to consider investing in one of these stepping motor controlled rails. And I think we spoke about the Castle Micro in one of our previous webinars.
We did. I'm going to post a link to that so everybody here in the chat can follow that later.
Please do. And we did create a cool video at your studio in Catskill like 1.5 years ago. So if you want to know more about Castle Micro and how Castle Micro can help you solve problems in extreme macro photography, just watch that video.
Link is coming.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thanks for all the help in the background. So are there any questions on focusing rails? Let's see.
Let's take a look. Kathy asked us, and I posted it privately, a reply, the pricing of the products. This webinar is primarily for people in the USA, although we have some international visitors. So I posted a link to NOVOFLEXUS.com. There's a NOVOFLEX International website where you can find links to local distributors, depending on where you are. So what else do we have as a question? This was the most important one that I misunderstood. Yes, what is the ratio for the fine of adjustment handle? It was 15 millimeters without it, a full revolution. What's the travel range when the fine adjustment handle is on?
So there's like a scale here. I don't know if we
Let
can
me switch it.
If we can see the scale.
Get you in there.
There's a scale here.
I see a scale.
Yes, and there's like different numbers in there, and between let's say a 1 and a 2 or a 2 and a 3, it also means like 15 millimeters. I think I'm missing some words here.
You're getting the macro lens.
Let me just send you an email, and I'll explain it in more detail, and you can answer that question a little while later.
Okay.
Is that a deal?
Sure. We'll make sure that the two gentlemen that were asking about that, or we can put stuff in the follow-up email too.
Yes, please do that.
Christopher would like us to talk about focus bracketing. Christopher, I'm not sure if you're talking about exposure bracketing during focus, or focus bracketing meaning you're trying to take many pictures to make sure you get focus just in case, or perhaps you intend something else, perhaps focus stacking. Just want to make sure that we understand. Let us please clarify that in the questions. We want to make sure that we answer your question fully, if possible. Okay.
Should we go on?
I'm looking to see if there's any other questions about.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I don't want to be too quick.
I don't think there is. But if as we're on a 30-second delay, if anybody else has a question, don't worry. Leave it in the chat. We'll come back to it.
Okay. So, okay. That was all the focusing rails explained in more detail. So if you happen to have any more questions, just put them into the chat. And if we're not able to answer some of the questions right now, we will definitely reach out to you later. And what we can answer right now, we definitely will. Okay. So choosing a bellows system that fits your needs. Matt, you're working with our smallest bellows, our most compact bellows, one of our auto bellows. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep.
So then let's jump right into the bellows kit, into the bellows system. So before choosing a NOVOFLEX bellows, there's basically 3 questions that you should ask yourself. What camera do I have? What camera do you have? What lenses do you want to use? Are these like medium format lenses, or are they just 35mm lenses? And most importantly, do I need full electronic pass-through? Or in other words, does the lens and the camera need to speak to each other in order to, let's say, adjust the aperture or use autofocus if that is something you would like to use or you would want to try? Or if you would want to use like built-in focus stacking, because some of today's cameras offer built-in focus stacking capabilities. So these are the questions you should ask yourself, and then we can definitely choose one of the many bellows that we offer. Okay, so suggesting that you don't need a full electronic pass-through, and you would want to work with 35mm equipment that is capable of being controlled manually, you could definitely use our smallest and most compact universal bellows, and that's our Ball F bellows. I have it right here, sitting right in the palm of my hand. So it's very compact, and as Matt did show you earlier, it's the perfect add-on to our Castle Mini focusing rail. Hey Matt, do you want to show your setup again?
Yeah, sure, I could do that.
Okay,
I could do that. Hold on one second. I was busy copying and pasting links.
Oh, hey, sorry, man.
No.
I can show you.
It's all good.
Real quick. So the rail lengths of both rails of the Ball F and the Castle Mini, they match. They have exactly the same length. Mm-hmm. And you have a different setup. You've mounted them rail to rail. That's also possible. Yep. So you can just use it both ways. Yep. So that's our most compact bellows. And if we are jumping right back in to the presentation, that's the next size of bellows that we offer. That's the Macro Bellows, and as the name indicates, Pro means it's bigger. It will also accept Pro equipment like medium format cameras and medium format lenses, and it will even accept digital bags. So if you happen to have like a digital Phase 1 bag or a digital Hasselblad bag, there's adapters for these bellows, so you can attach it right to the bellows and use live view with one of these digital bags. So what cameras are compatible? So we're still speaking of completely manual control. So with these bellows, we have adapters for all kinds of mirrorless cameras, and of course for the classic DSLR cameras like Nikon F, Pentax K, Sony A cameras, so Sony A99 or A65. You can easily attach them to any of these bellows. And which lenses? Remember, we are still speaking of of lenses that can be controlled manually. So all kinds of vintage 35mm lenses like Canon FD, Contax Yashica, all flat field lenses, enlargement lenses, Leica M lenses, M39 lenses. They can all be used with these bellows. And of course, you would have to adjust the aperture manually by means of the aperture control ring. You can even use like ARM S-thread microscope lenses, old Pentax K lenses, Olympus OM. So just check your shelf to see what lenses are sitting there collecting dust. And there's so many cool vintage lenses out there who have like character. Am I right, Matt?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm digging through my old screw mount lenses now to see which ones might work out good for this. We had a question from the field here. Are these bellows compatible with the Leica SL systems, or Leica SL systems with Leica manual lenses?
Yes, you can definitely attach a Leica SL, like an SL, SL2, SL2S. There's a manual adapter for the camera. And then you can combine this camera with manual lenses. Like, for example, there's some really cool Leica M glass out there, or M39 glass out there. And of course, you can use all of the lenses that are listed here. But if you want to employ original L-mount lenses, there's another solution that I will be showing in a few minutes. Okay. Was that enough of an answer to that question?
So. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So medium format and tilt shift. I already mentioned that the bigger bellows, the Macro Bellows. Here's a quick comparison, a size comparison. So you see, maybe you can just really just switch the picture real quick.
Sorry, I was again typing. I should.
Sorry.
No. It's my bad. There you go.
Okay, so this is the bigger bellows, the Bell Pro, and here's the more compact Bell F bellows. So now you can see that the Bell F bellows is something that you can carry in any photo pocket. Again, the rails are fully ARCA compatible, so you can add them to any of the already shown focusing rails. Okay, switching back into our presentation. What about medium format and tilt shift? So medium format and tilt shift equipment is only possible with the Bell Pro bellows. And if you want to employ a tilt shift, there is this guy here. It's also called the Bell Pro bellows, and we call it the Bell Pro TS because it offers tilt and shift capabilities on both the front and the rear standards. So if this is something you're eager to try for yourself, this is the bellows to go for. I also want to mention this is not something you would want to use in architecture photography because if people hear of tilt shift, they immediately think of architecture photography. But the problem here is since we are putting this in between our camera and usually a lens that is made for direct camera use, you will instantly lose the ability of focusing said lens to infinity, and that is something that you definitely need in architecture photography. So this tilt shift bellows is a tool for macro and close-up photography only, or a tool that you can use in product photography if you just add an L bracket. Then you can add some extended depth of field to your product photography. If you add a lens like our Apo-Digital 90mm, that's a flat field lens which is very, very sharp. That's a lens that has no like helical mount, and that's the only lens this bellows you can add to this bellows, which can be focused all the way up to infinity. Okay, so here are some other example images. One image is showing a Fujifilm GFX 50 and a Rodenstock float lens, and the other example is showing a Phase 1 IQ4 100 megapixel bag, which can be attached directly to the rear standard. Of course, these bags all have electronic shutter. Otherwise, you would have to use lenses with a leaf shutter. And of course, you would have to sync this lens with the bag. So again, here's a list of cameras that are compatible with the bigger bellows. Well, basically, this list is similar to the list that we were showing for the Ball F, the small bellows, and it is also adding the medium format equipment as shown in the previous image. And here's a quick list of lenses that are compatible with the Pro bellows. Again, this list is pretty similar to the list for the Ball F bellows, yet it is adding all the adapters for medium format lenses, which of course have a bigger image circle. So if you're using a digital bag, or if you want to employ tilt shift, you would definitely want to use a lens that has a bigger image circle. And that's certainly possible with the two Pro bellows.
Question.
Yeah.
Is it compatible with the Hasselblad 907X?
The Hasselblad 907X has or employs an X mount. Yes, it is definitely compatible. There is an adapter called HaxPro, HAXPRO. So you can attach that camera as well. But we do not have an adapter for Hasselblad X mount lenses. So while you can attach the 907X, you would have to use lenses that you can control manually, like our 90mm Schneider Apo digital lens, or any other flat field lens, or maybe a Hasselblad V lens. There's so much vintage glass out there from Hasselblad. You can certainly attach that.
Thanks, Martin.
Sure. So, and then there's automatic bellows. There's the auto bellows, and these bellows are for all the people out there who want to use or who need a full electronic pass-through. So they need a communication between the camera and their lens. Yes, of course, Matt, you need that functionality for your Nikon Z. So most of today's mirrorless cameras require full electronic pass-through. Of course, there's no other way of controlling the aperture in the lens. These lenses need like an electronic command from the camera to adjust the aperture. So Matt's Nikon Z certainly needs this bellows. Canon EF mount, so Canon EOS cameras need this. Canon EOS R, that's our F mount, need this. Fujifilm X L mount. We had someone asking if Leica SL would work. Yes, it will work both with manual lenses, and if you want to use original L mount glass, then you should consider investing in one of our auto bellows. And then we have one for Micro Four Thirds and Sony E-mount equipment. And that's basically how one of these bellows, auto bellows, looks like. It's just a quick example image, application image. They all basically look the same. It's only the mounts that differ. So and there's another cool feature I will show you real quick. If you invest in one of these auto bellows, you have the option. So here I have one for Nikon C as the one Matt is using. And if you invest into one of these bellows, you have the option of detaching the automatic couplings. And this leads us right into our last topic. Oops. Now I have fully detached the automatic couplings. This leads us right into our next and final topic of this or of today's webinar. Now you have the option of reversing your standard kit lens.
I love this part.
So any questions regarding auto bellows?
We had a couple of questions. Mm-hmm. So have you ever tried to use this with the Nikon PCE 85 millimeter f2.8 D lens?
I did not. And the auto bellows, well, it certainly can be done, but I did not do this. But in order for this setup to work, this would require the FTZ adapter, mm-hmm. because the PCD lens is an F-mount lens.
Right.
So you would have to have the original Nikon FTZ adapter, and this would go right into the front mount, like here. Yep. And it would convert the Nikon Z to a Nikon F mount. But to answer the question, no, I did not use a tilt shift lens with the auto bellows yet.
Okay. Let's see what else we have. I had a couple of other things. This one, I'll save that one to the end. I think mm-hmm. we're safe to move on to the final topic.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, here's the last slide referring to the bellows. If this was still too complicated, it was just a quick run through. We do offer pre-configured kits because there's so many adapters. If you are interested in a certain camera lens combination, just reach out to us, shoot us an email, and we'll let you know what's possible and what is not. And most combinations can be used with one of our pre-configured kits. So just let us know what you're up to, and we will help you.
We had one quick question that left over from the bellows.
No worries. Let me know.
Will this work like the Hasselblad Flex?
Are we speaking about the Hasselblad Arc body?
It's not clear. Hasselblad Flex were the words left in the chat.
Hasselblad Flex, I think they used sort of like a built-in bellows. I would have to investigate that. I don't want to answer that question right now, if that's okay.
No problem. There's a lot of stumpers today.
Yeah.
And you only got stumped once.
Okay.
He followed up, said with bellows.
I will definitely follow up on that. Okay. Let's jump right into our final topic for today's webinar. Speaking of reversing rings, we already explored this topic in more detail in one of our previous webinars. So there's another option in macro photography, and that's reversing your kit lens. And in other words, this will convert your standard or kit lens into some sort of a loop lens. So it will magnify a lot of subjects. So that's an easy and inexpensive way to dive right into macro photography. And most standard kit lenses like this 24-105 or 18 to 55 millimeter lens will work. And as shown, if you already own one of our auto bellows, you can just detach the automatic couplings and use them to reverse your standard kit lens and mount it directly onto your camera body. Again, thanks to the wire, this will feature full electronic pass-through, so you can use built-in focus stacking techniques if your camera body is offering this. And since there were so many questions right before our webinar, I will just quickly assemble 2 different setups and show you how you assemble the entire setup, and so you can see how you can reverse your lens. It's easy and inexpensive. Let me just find. So the reversing ring come with a 58 millimeter thread by default. So if the lens you want to reverse has a 58 millimeter thread, this adapter will screw right into the filter thread of your lens. For example, this Canon 18 to 55 millimeter lens. It's a very cheap standard kit lens, APS-C size. It will screw right into here without the need for any stepping rings. And the funny thing is, if your camera is a 35 millimeter full frame camera, you can still use or employ APS-C size lenses, because if you reverse them, they will still cover the entire 35 millimeter full frame sensor. That's another cool feature of reversing your kit lens. So what do you do? So what do you do if your lens does not have a 58 millimeter thread like this 24 to 70 Nikon Z lens? You need one of these optionally available stepping rings. They screw right into the filter thread as well. Then you screw the camera end of the reversing ring into the stepping ring, and you attach the other side to the bayonet. Everything's locked. You can still use the zoom. You take your camera, and you just attach it to your camera, and that's all it requires. And now you set the zoom you want to use, and you add it to your focusing rail, and you take your image.
That covers the question that we got. Can you reverse a 77 millimeter lens opening?
Of course you can. There's reversing rings all the way down to 39 millimeter and all the way up to 82 millimeters. And the reversing ring, they all go to the 58 millimeter, of course.
Gotcha. Harut asked a really good question. He said, why are you mentioning only kit lenses? I think wide-angle lenses would be great too.
You can also use wide-angle lenses, of course, but we do suggest to use zoom lenses over prime lenses. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Is there what are the reasons? Can we dip into that for a second?
Well, usually if you focus a lens, the front lens element will move in relation to the subject to set the focus. And if you reverse the lens, the front lens element sits in a constant distance in relation to the sensor. So there's no way of focusing the lens anymore. And if we employ a zoom lens, or if we use a zoom lens over the prime lens, we can sort of overcome this drawback by using the zoom.
Oh, fascinating. Great. Mm-hmm. Thanks.
If you want to use a prime lens in reverse, you can do this, but and then I would definitely recommend to use a bellows in between in order to be able to focus the lens by simply changing the extension.
Yeah. You know, it's funny is my Nikon 51.4 G lens has a native thread that's perfect for the reversing ring.
58 millimeter.
Yeah. So I don't need to use a step ring for it. And I often just flip it around just to use it. And I have run into the things that you say. I find that it's okay, but it has terrible chromatic aberration. So your results may vary. So I definitely suggest free lensing. You know,
Yes.
if you're going to try a lens, Martin introduced me to this, and it sounds dangerous, but it's not.
I will show you how it works. So you just take your camera body, you take the lens, you plan to reverse. You just switch on your camera, of course. You should use live view to see the results, and you just hold the lens that you want to use in front of your bayonet, and you just move back and forth to the direction of your subject, and then you will see what happens. And if your lens is capable of reversing at all, or if there's just no result because of the lens design.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an easy checkup to see if your lens is capable of being reversed.
Costs nothing but time.
Right.
Yep.
That's for sure. And you know what? If you're a Canon shooter, definitely take a look at this 18 to 55. It's mind blowing if you reverse it, and it's like a super cheap lens.
Nice.
And it, as I mentioned earlier, it even works. It's an APS-C size lens, and it even works on a full frame camera if you reverse it.
Wow.
Okay, so again, we offer these auto reversing rings for 7 different mounts: Canon EF, Canon RF, Fujifilm X, L mount that involves cameras from Leica, Panasonic, and Sigma. So it's the Leica SL2, the SL, the SL2S, the TL, the CL, the whole Panasonic lineup, and the Sigma FP1. And I think there's a new Sigma camera for the L mount on the horizon. Then, of course, the whole range of Micro Four Thirds cameras that involves cameras from Olympus and Panasonic, Nikon Z, and of course the Sony E system. And keep in mind, these reversing rings also work with our bellows again. So reversing rings and bellows, and you're covered in macro photographies in all sorts of ways. Here again, the retro adapters have 58mm filter thread by default. Stepping rings are required for any size other than 58mm, and stepping rings are available for filter threads ranging from 37mm. That's usually lenses for the MFT system, all the way up to 82mm. That's mostly lenses from Canon and Nikon that are very wide open. Okay, so that was basically it. That was the things and some of the mysteries solved behind the NOVOFLEX macro products. I hope we were able to answer some of the questions. And Matt, are there any other questions in the chat?
I'm going to check right now.
Please do.
Devin asked this: can you use any of these products with macro tubes?
If you happen to have like macro tubes that allow for electronic pass-through, you can definitely add them to your setup. Why not? Sure.
Cool. Rolf said, I bought a retro adapter yesterday. I'm very excited when it comes. We're excited for you too, Rolf.
Hey, Rolf, I saw your order in our system. I think it got already processed.
That's awesome. Ooh, I have something I want to share. I'm just going to
Please do.
Up.
Right.
We had one of our webinar visitors here, Haroon, showed in the chat that he has a Castel micro image, and he gave us permission to show it during this. So here it is. I'm just going to make my video disappear.
That's a B.
Yeah, so this is 101 images stacked, shot with the NOVOFLEX Castel Micro plus bellows with a Rodenstock Apo Rotagon D 2x at f5.6. 101 images.
Thank you very much, Harut. That's an awesome image.
That is so cool, and thank you for letting us share that. if you guys in the chat have the link there, I'd recommend going over and taking a closer look at it. It has better resolution than you can see here on our stream. So, wow, that is so exciting to have users check in and share their images. It makes me feel really good.
Thanks a lot.
So let's see if there's anything else here. Okay, so we talked about the Hasselblad Flex. We talked about this other good stuff.
We should follow up on that question. I will.
Yeah, Rui asked about reps in Europe. So Martin is the right guy to speak to. I'm on the wrong side of the pond to talk about that. Rui, if you put your email address in, Martin will be able to reach out to you. Mm-hmm. Ostensibly to get in here, you had to put your email address in. So we will be reaching out to you. And I just want to address this other comment that we have from Christopher. Christopher wanted to know a little bit more about technique. We do a lot of techniques webinars also. This one was specifically about products, and we're sorry if anybody was disappointed. We try really hard to describe what we're doing accurately. And if we disappointed you, we apologize. We'll try even harder to describe it accurately next time. But we heard you. We'll make sure that every link that covers those topics is made available to you. And if we didn't cover it as thoroughly as you like, we'll consider doing that during our next webinar. Thanks so much for leaving a comment. I don't see any other questions. Harut was saying that he did not harm the insect.
I didn't kill the bee. Don't sue me. We won't. That's
lots
for sure.
Of dead insects in my windowsill that I can go collect. I completely understand.
No animals were injured during this webinar.
None.
That's for sure. We
None.
have.
So if we missed a question, or if you leave one after we hit the stop button, please be assured that Martin and I go through all the chat and make sure that we follow up on everything. If you'd like help deciding what you need to get, that's what this webinar was about. We hope we answered all of your questions. That's why we do it live. If you're seeing this as a replay, leave a comment and we'll get back to you, or reach out to us. Follow the links to either the NOVOFLEX US website or the NOVOFLEX website in Germany. And there's easy ways to contact us there. Otherwise, Martin, what a great day. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
My pleasure.
And, all of the incredible tools that you guys have.
My pleasure. It's always fun working with you. And thanks to all our visitors for being interested in macro photography.
Yes, thanks to everybody for coming. I'm sorry, one of my my housemates, my cat, is over there trying to get rid of a hairball. So I'm going to end the webinar. So
okay. Thanks, guys.
Bye,
thanks
everybody.
for being here. Bye.
Have a great day.